Check.
Check, check.
Welcome back. This is our third game of Day 5 at WJUC U20s. I'm Nico Birch, and I am joined with Andrew Portwine.
Thank you. Nice to be up in the booth. A little chilly, but nice to be up here.
Yeah, although the sun is peaking, so maybe it will stay for a little bit longer so we can warm up. We have an exciting match for you today in the men's division between Colombia and France. This is a very important pool play match as top 4 will be headed to the quarterfinals. France is currently sitting at that number 4 spot, Colombia at the number 6 spot, so definitely needs a win from both teams hungry for the win. Well, France wants to secure that spot, and Colombia trying to break into that bracket.
Yeah, and France gave Canada a push this morning. We saw earlier they did end up losing, but really did put on a good show. I'm going to be curious to see if they have anything left in the tank to compete for this game.
We will look towards handlers like Axel Roger, Mathieu Begon-Demeaux, and Nemo Cortil. They seem to be racking up the stats on this French team. For Colombia, we will be looking at Nicolas Aristizabal, who's on the handler O-line, who's a handler on the O-line, Simon Ramirez, and Juan-Philippe Jimmy.
You'll notice there's a lot of wind out here today. It's really picked up. As we do pan down the field, you'll see the flags in the background.
Pigeon with the disc to Begon-Demeaux. Demeaux to Roger. Demeaux. Demeaux again. Roger's poach doesn't recognize it though. Finds space in the center though. Hits Pouplet. And that is off the hands of Pigeon. So Colombia looking to break for the first point. We see Jimmy picking up the disc. Gets it to Torres. Goes to Brasino. Back to Torres. To Jimmy. Finds Delgado. Brasino. Jimmy. There is a pick call, however. It will go back to Brasino. Disc is tapped back in. Finds Jimmy up the line. And Jimmy sends the huck. But that disc just turns in the wind and it is out of bounds.
Yeah, that's straight into the wind. I think that's going to be an ambitious huck this game, going from left to right on your screen.
And Demeaux sends a huck. And a great bid from, I believe, Guavi. A little slow to get up, but appears to be fine. Delgado. Travel call, though, on Brasino, I believe. Huck to number 57, Bentancur Torres.
Colombia clearly not shy going into the wind with those hucks again after the earlier missed throw.
Definitely not. Roger picking up. Goes to Demeaux. Finds Nissan. Back to Demeaux. Nissan. Roger. Roger going with a flick huck. He has 2 receivers. Oh, and that is a great attempt from Quentin Brunet, but unable to complete it to his partner in the end zone. So Jimmy picks up to Manus. Sorry, no, that is Jimenez. Again, just bouncing off the hands of the receivers. Roger picks up, looking for the quick hold. Looks at Demeaux. Oh, but that is number 42 Pouplet with the sky. Demeaux has it. Gets to Nissan. Fakes the lefty backhand. Goes for the righty backhand to Roger, and that is a hold from France.
France really worked the midfield quite well. I was waiting to see if they were going to try the punt and pin or actually work the disc up. And they were using that center field area quite well, finding the hole in the defense. Still took a couple of shots downfield, but I don't think they were purposeful punts. I think they thought they had the receiver open.
You know, and France was making plays, you know. 11, Brunet almost had that greatest, and 42, Poupin just skied his defender, even though that disc was not intended for him. So I would agree on France definitely trying to send it deep to these receivers who can get up, catch these discs, and are very excited to get a hold for their team. Probably can hear from the far sideline is some nice singing from the French women's team here to support their men's team. Always good to see.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of that this tournament. Germany, Colombia, France especially, they're having the full team coming out, not just the team that's actually playing the game.
So a good chance to look at Colombia's O-line and France's D-line. Now, we did have a French men's game on stream yesterday. They played against the People's Republic of China, which they won 15-0. And while they did look good for the first half, there were definitely some mistakes they were having in the second half, which made, you know, it gave China some opportunities to score. So we'll see if the D-line can be just as efficient as they were in that first game. You see it goes to 91, Luna. Back to Luna. That's 26 on the sideline. Ramirez, he's one of the main key cogs for this Colombian O-line. Looking around to number 10, Alarcon Torres, but he drops it.
Wind really got that up and down action right when we went to catch that.
I believe this is Demo. He stayed on for this D point. To Pigeon, who also stayed on for this D point. IO break, but that is caught by the Colombian defender. Finds Ramirez. That disc goes to ground. No call.
Yeah, that disc really came out wobbly. I thought there was a partial hand block in there, but I think that was just the wind.
6, Cortil picking up another handler for this French squad. Gets the around backhand to 11, Brunet, and he punches it to 71, Manus, and that is a French break. And how do you feel about France working on that high sideline, Andrew?
Yeah, I think they want to get away from that sideline as much as possible. I think both teams would want to get away from the sideline. It goes without saying, but just given the wind today, it is coming not quite right to left. There is a little bit of sideline push. No one wants to be there with this. I'm sure you can hear it in the microphones for those of you at home. I mean, it's a brisk pace.
Yeah, it is good to see though that both these teams can accomplish risky throws in this wind. You know. It speaks to the volume of expertise and skill that they have on this team. Much of this French team actually played on the French national team for the under-17s, and they won the championship, the European Championship in 2016. So definitely a veteran squad here at this U20s.
Yeah, and that chemistry of playing together is going to be helpful today again with this wind. More helpful. It's always helpful when you have knowledge of your teammates and a little chemistry on the field.
The pull from France.
It's a great pull.
Lands in bounds, so France is ready to set some sort of look, but however it does skate out of bounds. It's unfortunate on this turf. It's very slidey and slippery, so I think pulls that would otherwise land inbounds on grass will slide out on turf. It's number 6, Aristizabal. Looking to, I believe, Ramirez. Back to Ramirez. I believe that's Jimmy. Ramirez. Both just popping through that cup, trying to get some openings. That's Aristizabal to Ramirez. Aristizabal goes to the sideline. Nice high grab from his receiver. Goes to Ramirez again. Jimmy able to get his hands on that.
I like this look from France, playing zone defense. Obviously, great win to help them. Their cup is so tight. The Colombians, as they have the flip pass, are almost walking through the cup on their catch step. If a midfielder can make themselves available, there's going to be that punch-through opportunity.
Foul call. Aristizabal will retain possession. It looks like there is a no contest. Yes, this is very similar to what Revolution does in zones, you know, just taking those little small gainers and looking for the holes inside the cup as they pop through.
Yeah, I think if France takes a step back with the top of their cup, not to let that little walk through and then quick pass to a mid, it's going to help them a lot.
Aristizabal again. Jimmy.
Yeah, France has flattened out the cup. Looks more like a monster or wall that we would use here in North America.
Torres, back to Ramirez. Torres, Jimmy. Aristizabal doing work, but that's just a drop.
And that's exactly what the zone's supposed to do. More passes, get a drop.
Yeah, I think Jimmy was just a little confused about where Aristizabal wanted the disc and unfortunately just threw it behind him. We have Cortil with the disc, who passes it to Demo, again staying on for I think his 3rd point in a row. Gets it to 32 Viel, back to Demo. Demo goes for the hammer, and he has his receiver in Le Livre.
That's a gutsy throw, given the conditions out here today. That's some great confidence in knowing your ability.
And great on Le Livre, knowing that Demo likes to throw these kind of crosswind, downwind hammers and is in that space. So France up 3-0 on Colombia. Sometimes hard to tell, but I think that there is no timeout so far, or maybe not.
There is a timeout.
There is a timeout call.
Game advisors using hand signals help us immensely in the booth.
We can see Mauricio Moore. I don't know if he is the coach of this men's team. He generally coaches the women's team Revolution, but it's good for him to show his expertise to this Colombian men's team. You know, I think Revolution has developed a very unique style that has proven successful, and to bring it over to the men's team to see if that they can copy it will be an interesting thing to note in the future.
Yeah, and I think he's had a good hand in the last 5-7 years, that rapid increase in results for Colombian Ultimate.
France, on the other hand, has become sort of a new powerhouse in the European Ultimate scene. They had a pretty good showing at WJUC recently with the French Open team to Chak coming 7th overall.
You were talking about one of their players staying on for multiple points. It's a very cool day today. They're playing zone. Conditions are favorable where they can play their star players repeatedly if need be to get this win.
Exactly. One thing that also might help is that by playing them more, they'll always be warm, so to speak. It is hard in this weather, especially to sort of stay in the game, stay loose when you've been on the sideline, you know, your muscles tightening up for a few points in a row.
Especially with this wind, you're going to tend to have some longer points. Makes it even that much worse being on the sidelines.
Looks like we have a very similar D-line that was out on their first upwind chance. We will have Cortil pulling.
And just a note for those watching, we did start late because the previous game ran late. This game will still go to the full time. We do have the game advisors out here keeping time, so we will be on the air for the full completion of this game as per normal rules.
Although I think France would like to finish it earlier. They've had you had a quick hold and they've had 2 quick breaks, so maybe they're just wanting to finish this game off early and get inside. That pull catches the wind and it comes out of bounds to the close sideline. Torres picking up. Demo on the mark. Forcing backhand. Torres goes deep immediately and is too high for his receiver, Quiroga Martin.
Actually don't mind that look. It was a bit of an opening. And at the very worst, it is a punt effectively, throw on a zone, get the turnover, hopefully closer to the end zone.
You know, when your player is open, it's hard to say, no, I don't want to throw it to him. So I don't mind that look either, Andrew.
Yeah, a little more to the open space of the end zone to run onto it versus trying to throw it directly at the receiver. But I think I can see the idea they were going for.
Demo passes it to, I believe, Poriel. Goes to Cortil. Goes through the cup. Demo's able to get there. Colombia showing a zone look.
Yeah, which is interesting. They matched up person to person on the vertical stack France gave and then shifted to the zone.
Cortil again tries to slice through that cup, but there's Rico with the D. Torres. A low throw, and the player cannot make the grab. Demo on the disc. Gets to Manus. Demo. Sends the high huck. It's floating. Oh, lots of traffic.
And that throw was definitely either foot blocked or hand blocked. You could hear the impact.
Definitely. Good work on the Colombian marks. Jamy with it. Finds, I believe that was Suarez. Jamy again. Torres looking for the catch. Oh. So Jamy looked for Suarez, but I believe it's hard to see the Colombian number there, but that was a great heads-up grab by him.
Yeah, intended receiver or not, that's good awareness to haul that in.
And that is a hold for Colombia, so the score is 3-1. France up 2 breaks.
Yeah, and Colombia needed that. They needed a little energy, a little life to get them going. You can see they were pretty fired up as soon as he caught that goal. You can see the coach for Colombia showing maybe the flight path he wants on this pull based on the previous pull from France. It was almost like it hit a wall at the halfway line here right in front of us. See what kind of wisdom he imparts on the puller.
So we're seeing a different O-line out for France. You know, we saw players like Cortil and Demo who began on the O-line, but maybe they were just there to get some, you know, like handler experience. But we still see Roger, Pigeon. On the sideline, Roger picks up. To Chavot. Goes to Broussard. Finds Manus. Back to Broussard. To Nissan. To Chavot. To Roger. Roger goes with the huck. And that is a beautiful throw to Manus.
That's a great look, wide open in the end zone, but nice cut on that disc to make sure it drops in the end zone. If he had left that flat, it's going out the back end. We've seen a couple of times already with previous throws in that direction. And France came out with a 4-handler set. They were really focusing on short passes and tight spin, low release. You could see the focus on their handlers.
As we mentioned, Roger is the captain of this French squad. And as you can see, he really is someone who controls the flow of their offense. So a quick hold from France, and Colombia's back on O. French sideline, very excited about that hold. The women are still singing some French song that I do not recognize.
I will say I'm glad you're handling the pronunciation for the French and Spanish names here as we're going through.
Well, I have so much experience in my life. And the pull from Brunet is very short, a little uncharacteristic, I would say, of most of the pulls I've seen from any men's team at this tournament. But good position for Colombia. Working to Jamy. Finds Torres. Back to Jamy. finds Ortiz Geraldo. Nice hold from Rico. Back to Torres. Layout attempt from Jimmy, but is too low. Demo looking to pick up. Colombia looking to set a zone. Demo to Cortil. To Brunet. To Viel. Back to Brunet. To Cortil. Gets it to Jouvet. Jouvet again. To Brunet. Jouvet. Brunet.
It's a good active zone from Colombia. Really biting to fill those lanes on the fakes.
High release to Cortil. Slices it through to 17. That is Voinasson. But he makes a second effort grab. Demo sends it deep, but Jimmy has position. But Demo gets back. Gets it back. Sees Brunet open. High grab from Brunet. That's Delamont. Delamont looking around. I believe there's a call of some sort, a foul call. Unsure if it's on the mark.
Yeah, it looked like the mark gave a little forearm chop on that fake.
He finds Brunet, and that is another upwind break for France. It is 5-1.
Yeah, I think that defender would like to have that back from a static disc reset. That was much too easy on the near sideline.
Wind staying strong, but it's also getting a little bit wet. I'm feeling a little bit of misting rain.
Yeah, a couple dark clouds coming in, I can see. We have the great vantage point up here to monitor the weather for everyone. Can tell you there certainly has been a cold front going through. It's abnormally cold for August in Waterloo.
Yeah, generally we're dying in the humidity, and this is the exact opposite. Maybe this is a good sign for the university series that will happen in probably a month's time, because generally that is very cold, so maybe it'll be warmer here.
Yeah, and I must admit it might be a competitive disadvantage for the Colombians and Dominicans and those from much warmer climates. They are bundled up here, and I've heard some comments about wondering how we live in this country with these temperatures. But hopefully they're getting good warm-ups in and clearly prepared to play.
I believe that is Cortil getting ready to pull. France looking to break downwind again for that 2-point swing. Nice IO backhand. Sails into the end zone.
Little trouble retrieving that.
Looks like a new handler line. We have Garcia with it. Goes to Briqueño. Briqueño again. Jimenez.
France getting a little wise to that move from the Colombians where they catch a short pass and try and step through the cup. Actually a little body contact there, just slowing down the Colombian player.
Briqueño has it. I'm sorry, that is actually Garcia. Delgado. Garcia.
And that's the type of throw I've seen a few times today. It is a low release, but the disc is still getting the nose up to catch the wind. As much as players I know are focusing to keep it low to go through the wind, they got to keep the disc flat to cut through the wind.
Demo sends a flick to Cortil. Cortillo looking, sends the backhand, but it's too far for Demo to make a play.
Let's see what kind of zone they set up. They've given a couple of different looks the last few zone plays.
And that's Veloso with the disc. Delgado now. Believe there is an out call actually by Monus, who's claiming that I think maybe Delgado or possibly the receiver beforehand, maybe Bentancur Torres, was out on the line. So I believe it is contested, and then we'll go back. Count will be coming in on 3.
Yeah, Colombia's in a real hard place right now, right on the sideline in their end zone.
And sorry, that is Jimenez. Jimenez sends the blading flick. And that is Delgado with the chance for the second effort chance, but unfortunately the disc goes to the ground. Cortillo is picking up. Cortillo goes with the backhand. Oh, and it goes through 2 receivers' hands, Poriel and then Monus.
Yeah, I think a slight deflection from the first receiver, and it caught the second receiver off guard with the change of direction. Colombia is still being held close to this sideline in their end zone. Not much space to work with.
And Veloso goes for the huck, gets, puts an OI edge to it, and unfortunately the wind just takes it and blades it out of bounds.
Forgive me that was a heads up for us in the booth. I was trying to save you.
I think we were well protected under our scaffolding. So Cortillo will bring it up. Another chance for France to break. Demo goes to his buddy Cortillo, and Cortillo just misses that catch.
Bottom fell out of that just as it approached his hands.
Yeah, that was a good try from Briqueño to get that D. It was just over him, but maybe they scared Cortillo enough.
And that's something you see a lot from the Colombians, both the men and women. Even if they don't think they can get the D, they are throwing their body out there to get a hand, to get something in the visual line of that receiver.
Veloso going with another huck. This flick huck blades inwards to the field, giving France a little bit more yardage to work with in terms of having to punch it in. Demo is walking it up. France in a standard vertical stack for an end zone. Goes to Cortillo in the center. Goes with the huck. And again, off the hands of 23 Lelivre.
Yeah, you could see him tap the goalpost there. I think he was worried about that padded goalpost. Not that I blame him at all.
No, definitely player safety is always the #1 concern in these kind of tournaments, so there's no point in trying to bid into something where you feel like you could hurt yourself. Jimenez with the disc. Jimenez sends the huck.
Colombia looks almost content to try and punt this off their own goal line upfield just to get some distance. I think they've realized the short passes aren't working with the cup, and France has tightened the cup up a little bit to not let them get through.
I believe this is at least France's 4th chance at getting this downwind break. That was just a misfired throw, but I believe there's a pick call. Some confusion. Demo with his hands up. But the disc is floating. Everyone's underneath the disc, and we'll see who gets a hand on it. And no one does. So we're kind of back to where we started, Andrew.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the strategy from the Colombians to try and... Nice D. I'm not sure about the strategy from the Colombians to try and punt it into the wind off their goal line, because you're basically giving a turnover 30 yards upfield. You may as well try and possess the disc, work it up. If you turn it over 15 yards up the field, are you really much worse off?
That was Garcia with the D. Foul called on Lelivre.
And it does look like there's a pretty clear height advantage for the French team. So these punts that are hanging around half field likely are going to be D'd by the French anyway, based on height.
Back with Jimenez. Delgado. Delgado to Briqueño. Back to Delgado. Pequeño. Pequeño stepping around his mark. Goes to Velosa. Oh, I think there is a travel call. There is a travel call. Demo explaining how he is traveling. Goes back.
Some nice X's and O's on the turf. Draw it right out.
Pequeño now at the disc. Goes to Velosa.
Some respects, you could call that a good veteran move from France to stop the quick movement that the Colombians did have. Let the defense set up again.
Velosa slices through. Oh, and a great grab from Garcia. Garcia trying to give a 1-2, but France stops at Delgado to Pequeño. To Velosa, to Jimenez. Velosa. Garcia. Delgado. Jimenez. Around to Pequeño. To Garcia. Jimenez. To Pequeño. Jimenez. Demo gets a hand on it, but Pequeño is able to make a grab. Jimenez. Delgado. There's another travel call.
Yeah, I think that was a good call. He stretched out, then brought his pivot foot back to his front foot rather than returning to the pivot foot. Colombians do have fast feet. It looks like they travel often, but sometimes I think it's just the fast feet.
France, I think, is going to leave their zone defense and move on into person. Demo on the mark, coming in on 1. Jimenez. No, they still stay in zone. Gets it to Pequeño. To Torres. Delgado. To Pequeño. Foul called, uncontested by France.
So this goes back to something I was saying earlier. Colombia has actually tried to possess the disc and walk up the field, and they've got it to the brick mark on the attacking side instead of the punts. So I'm not sure why for 2 or 3 possessions they punted it away almost immediately. And a change of philosophy midpoint to walk it up. They gave France 3 or 4 free chances at an end zone.
Yeah, good observation, Andrew. Back to Delgado. Delgado again. Finds Pequeño. Manu's all over him. And that is a drop from Torres. There is a foul call, I believe. It's a little difficult. I believe there was a foul on Pequeño is telling that there's a foul on the throw, though France is kind of wondering whether or not it did affect the fact that Torres dropped it. It looks like it has been retracted. Cortil goes to Rouillard, but he fumbles the disc, and Colombia gains possession. Pequeño, Jimenez, another travel call.
Yeah, I was just thinking that to myself. It looked like he took a step or two.
So just so people know at home what the travel call is, if you set a pivot, you must retain the pivot, meaning your pivot foot must be stationary as you throw or pivot. And if you don't set a pivot, you basically have 3 steps to set a pivot. And that is a hand block from Manus. Cortil picks up, looking deep. Instead goes to Manus. Manus calls a timeout. And that is the first timeout, I believe. Oh no, this is the first timeout France has taken.
And I think that's a good timeout. We saw a drop from them going downwind just a few moments ago. You have the wind. You really need to put this in the end zone.
Yes, so currently we're at France 5, Colombia 1. However, France is the team going downwind at this moment, so they would really like to get that 2-point swing, finish out that 2-point swing that we generally talk about in Ultimate when there is an upwind, downwind to the field.
And Colombia's been doing a fantastic job retaining possession, walking this up the field. They really have done a good job since they made that change in philosophy midpoint to retain possession and play to score instead of playing to punt. So I think this is a good timeout from France. I mean, break that Colombian movement they had, but also clean up their hands and make sure you take advantage of the wind.
It'll be interesting to see if Colombia sticks with person or if they now go to zone. They did show a zone look earlier. And even though France is going downwind, they haven't been, you know, super efficient when it comes to it. So maybe a zone look will be the best way to cause that turn.
Yeah, given the strength of the wind, I thought that was weird, actually, to put a zone on, but it did work for a short time. I think there was maybe one blown assignment deep that France did get the sort of freebie, but the zone was working fairly well. And going back to one of my original points about that grinded out game that France had with Canada this morning, France still looks good in this game. They're moving, they're running, so clearly this is a well-conditioned, skilled team. They were ready to play even after that hard, long game this morning.
Yeah, France may not be cheering as loudly as the Colombians, but they are definitely a team I find that is mentally strong, you know. Very similar to that in Canada. It's always hard, I find, to face a Quebec team. They just have a very strong mental attitude, and I can see it in this French team as well, that they are just always ready to play, want to win these games hard, you know, don't want to give any lead or any chance for a team to kind of claw back up. So Colombia has elected to go zone. It will be tapped in by Garcia.
It's great to see on the sideline here. We still have the Colombian coach. He's assembled all the non-playing players right now and giving them some direction as well, so they're ready for the next point.
Cortil now with the disc. Demo finds Poriel. Back to Demo. Demo faking the backhand huck, causing his mark to jump. Poriel. Demo finds Manus. Cortil. And Cortil throws the hammer. Oh, and that was a nice bid attempt from Poriel, but again, it was so bladey. It would have been an amazing grab.
Yeah, I was thinking that's asking a lot from your receiver to catch that when it doesn't turn over, to give him a flat catch. Still made a nice bid at that.
Velosa picking up the disc. And that is a turn from Velosa looking for Jimenez. So France will get it on the end zone line. Literally just need one throw to punch it in here. Demo with the disc. Colombia in some sort of poachy look. Gets it to Cortil. Cortil faking. Goes for the backhand, and there's Manus.
Yeah, I feel like that's a replay from an earlier point for them. Same connection, I believe. Yeah, Colombia had that nice poaching defense. France had only one person in the end zone looking to isolate, and Colombia filled a lane and a man-to-man D behind. And the handlers for France didn't activate at all toward the end zone. They waited for the complete reset.
I think that just speaks to France's veteran players. You know, these are players who have played either on this U20 team before or the French national team in some capacity. So they're showing off their, you know, their veteran sort of field sense and knowing, hey, there's a poach in these lanes. Let's not try to force it. Let's look at to reset, and then something will open up, which is what happened.
So I pointed out earlier that the substitute players were getting a lesson, we'll say, from the coach for Colombia. And I noticed he had some arm motions, like he wanted to see maybe some scoobers over the top of some of the defense from the French. So now I'm curious. They are with the wind. Probably a better time to use the scoober, obviously, than going into the wind. So I'm wondering if they're going to try and pop something up over top of that first wave of French defense.
Looks like Roger will be on the pull. I think this will be his first D point. Generally an O-line handler, but maybe that's what France needs, especially on these upwind breaks, break chances. You know, they need someone who can generate the offense, be that sort of controller, or as general as a lot of people like to call them in the pack. Roger with the pull, very low.
Much better than his previous, or the previous French pull.
Yep. Jimenez, Jamais pulls out that IO backhand. Oh, and his receiver, number 70, Suarez, gets a hand to it but cannot come down. Good pressure, though, from France. I believe that was number 8, Delamotte. And Roger is picking up. Colombia in a zone look. To Chauveau, Roger.
Yeah, Colombia just with a flat wall at the front of the zone this time, not trying to cup.
Roger opts for the blade to a wide open Poiriel. Finds Chauveau. To Broussard, back to Roger. Roger looking upfield, fakes the huck. Broussard. Chauveau. Back to Roger. Roger telling his cutters to come in. Never mind, go back out. Chauveau. Roger again. And he sends the IO backhand in space, but it is out of bounds, and Jimmy will get it back on the line.
So number 26 from France had caught that blade over here. I just want to point out, he didn't get to his feet. He took advantage quickly and threw from his feet. That's the type of thing that you're going to have to do going into the wind to try and really get your opponent off balance.
That's Torres now with the disc. Looking for Jimmy. Jimmy sends the backhand huck, but the wind just takes it very out of bounds. I think these throwers need to calibrate, especially going downwind. We were seeing that with the women's game previously, and we're seeing it now, that they're just throwing it a little too far. I'm not sure if they're just excited, or maybe they just don't realize how much the wind is pushing it outside, out of bounds.
The throw stayed flat and catchable in that sense. I agree. Take a little off that, that's a goal.
Chauveau to Broussard. Broussard has it again. Low to the sideline. Chauveau. Roger. Sends it to Lefebvre, but Lefebvre, I think, closes his hands before he gets it on the disc, and that's a drop. I think it might have been a foul call or possibly a contact call. Foul call. We do have contact in WFDF. It is very much like a foul call, except you do not have to stop moving on a contact call, so play can always resume. Brunet has it, or sorry, that is Rico has it. Takes it to Cardona. Jimmy. Cardona going up blind. Jimmy opts not to throw it. Looking around, sends the high release, and that is a downwind hold for Colombia. And that is 57, Torres.
So we're sitting at 6-2. You could see on that deep huck that went out of bounds, the Colombian player actually chased it down and ran it back to France. I think they know, down 6-2 now, time is going to start to play this. They were trying to speed that game up, especially with the win. They needed to punch one in.
It is very true. It happened in our last game. Our cap went off. Unfortunately, though, the game went a lot longer than we expected. It took an extra 30 minutes, I think, before we could finally crown the winner. I won't reveal who it was because you guys should watch the game. It was exciting. It was, it was two teams, Mexico women's and People's Republic of China women's. Even though they aren't in medal contention, it was great to see two teams really gunning it out for the win.
Yeah, and I'll say one team won't say it was an unfortunate extra 30 minutes of play, because I believe they came from behind to secure the win, so it is a worthwhile viewing for those that missed it.
Looks like a pretty typical O-line for France. Roger is staying on. We also have players like Pigeon and Nissan, Brunet, and Chopin. And I apologize if I'm pronouncing any names wrong or if I'm not saying the correct name. That is a great bid attempt from, I believe, Garcia on Pigeon. Gets it back to Roger. Chopin. And there is a pick call.
Yeah, Chopin rocking the tucked in shirt look.
Well, maybe he's warmer that way. The wind will never carry your shirt up.
Yeah, you can see he's wearing the longer pants as well underneath of his shorts.
Beautiful high release flick to Nissan, who goes around to Pigeon. Gets it to Chavot. Roger. And there's another pick call on Roger.
Love to see these hand signals, even the players on the sidelines echoing it.
It appears that Roger was not affected by the pick, so he will retain possession. Sends the high release backhand, but Garcia picks it off. Torres with the disc. And that is the other Torres on the team throwing that backhand huck, but we have 42 Pouplin underneath that. And Roger decides he wants to get on this hucking game, sends it to Viel. Viel elevates, skies his defender, and that is a beautiful grab.
It's a fantastic grab at the back line.
And the Colombian player is looking a little, demoralized after that. It's hard watching your teammate, go up for a disc and unfortunately not come down with it.
It was a great contest from the defender. Great touch on the handler to drop that right at the back line. It was either going to be caught by his receiver or no one.
So France leading 7-2 on this Colombian team. If they break up win, that will take us to half. So Andrew, if you were the Colombian coach, what would you be telling them right now? They have the wind with them. What would you say are the kind of errors or maybe just the decisions they're making? Like, what would you advise them to do?
Before I even get to strategy, I would be trying to get some energy in the team. As you said, they're starting to look demoralized. I get it, the score is a little bit lopsided, but they're still controlling the disc when they have to. They're playing fairly well. They are playing a juggernaut in France. But the other thing I would do is suggest playing some zone right now, try and get that quick turnover, and hopefully convert into the goal. That's going to give you some energy as well. I mean, let's face it, scoring helps. But I think it's an energy thing right now for this team.
Yeah, we always talk about Ultimate being a game of swings. France is really riding high right now. They are up 7-2, but any momentum Colombia can get would be excellent. And that is just another turnover from Jamy. I'm not even sure, honestly, who he was looking for. There were 4 Colombians in that area, and just none of them could make the play for that disc.
Depending what they're going to play for defense, it looks like a zone they're waiting to set up. That could have been a punt. There were a couple of players in the zone, but not catchable, I don't think. I will also say that pull from France, it looked like it was going to skip out of bounds. It sat about 1 foot from the sideline. They actually had a perfect result on that pull.
Demo with the disc. Looks to Chavot. Viel. Viel again. Viel is really taking that center handler role. Chavot to Demo. France having some hard time getting some upfield movement. Viel. Chavot. Viel. Chavot. Tries to go around to Demo, but that disc just blades into the ground, and Demo bids, but it's already too late. And that is Lelivre discussing with the Colombian player about where the disc should be brought in on the line. That is Rico.
I actually thought the Colombian player went right up the white line, about as straight as you could go.
There's a violation call.
But this is what I was talking about. They needed the quick turnover, and they need a conversion here at the goal line.
A foul call, uncontested, will come back in on 1. And that is a hold from Carrillo Arino.
there might have been a call there.
No, I think
no call from the France player.
Yeah, I think Demo was just frustrated with himself. He knew that that was the last option, and unfortunately, Arino just beat him to the cone.
And I was about to point out that 15, he was playing great defense. He let his player go to the break side, filled the lane, and then he unfortunately got beat onto the in-cut there.
It is always hard, I find, to cover that front cone. And it's good to see, though, Colombia making sure that they do take that little, those little dishy passes. You know, I think a lot of teams sometimes get stuck in that idea of trying to do like a nice, easy open side or like upline pass. But, you know, a goal's a goal at this point, and even punching it in like that just means another point on the board for Colombia.
Yes, even after scoring that goal, there wasn't a lot of celebration from Colombia. The energy wasn't there. We look down to our left where their bench is, and they've got 2/3 of their substitutes are on the ground. They're exhausted, and I understand they're chasing in the zone quite a bit. It's hard, but the energy is just gone from this Colombian team.
Yeah, as we mentioned, though, France isn't really celebrating everything, but they always just seem very in it. You know, they're all walking to the line, all waiting to hear what the coach has to, who the coach wants to put on this line. Short pull from Colombia. Roger picks up. Finds Nissan wide open. Nissan looking to go around. Instead, offers for the lefty to Roger. Roger says, go for that high release flick. Instead, sends a blade. And that is a hold from Pigeon. Great grab.
That's the second time we've seen a player wide open in the end zone for that cut forehand. And you can see the defenders aren't recognizing that open space to the left of the end zone as we view it.
Well, this is clearly a French team who knows their star players like Roger have those kinds of throws. So they just, you know, it's hard to guard players when you're like that. They will never throw that. And France is proving, yes, we will.
And they're doing it with great touch. I mean, these are bladey throws in high wind, and they're completing them.
So it is 8-3 right now. France is up 5 on Colombia. It is halftime, so we'll be taking a break. Just again, shout out to our sponsors. This live stream is brought to you by Cut Camp. We also have Universe Point Cleats, Discraft Discs, VC Ultimate Apparel, and Greatest Bags here with us. So thank you. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is the second half of our pool play matchup between the Colombian and French men. Right now the score is 8-3 for France. France will be starting out on D. Colombia looking to have an offensive hold right off the bat. I'm Nico Birch, and I'm here with Andrew Portwine. Andrew, how have you found the game so far?
It's been pretty entertaining. I've loved to see the way the France handlers have handled this win, especially some of those cut shots we saw in the first half to players in the end zone that were left alone because they were in places that shouldn't be dangerous. Great touch from the handlers. I'd like to see the Colombians get a bit more energy. If they get some energy in them, they've been playing well, they've been controlling the disc fairly well, handling the zone fairly well. I think they just lost some energy and some focus and had some unfortunate drops at inopportune times.
So Demo with the pull. Wind catches it, so it lands in bounds, but it only is at the brick mark essentially. So Colombia looking to capitalize on this. Jimmy with the disc. Jimmy slices through an aisle backhand, and that is to 99, Valde Rodriguez.
That is an impossible throw. That is creative. That is skill.
That is a beautiful throw and nice awareness from Rodriguez. He is one of the main stat leaders on this Colombian offense, and we can see why. Also, Jimmy, definitely another stat leader on this team, getting really low, throwing that throw nice and flat with a little bit of edge just so that it goes back into his receiver.
Just like to say, one of the volunteers bringing a chair for our camera operator up here who's in some pretty chilly weather and putting in some long hours. We should give a shout out to the SportsCanada.TV employees while they're here doing a great job for this streaming service all week.
Yeah, they've been here. They've also been with us at Canadian Ultimate Championships in Brampton, Ontario, which just finished this past Sunday. So thank you to all those who've worked with us on either broadcast. We're going to see another look at this O-line from France. They've been pretty efficient. They've been running everything through their captain, Axel Roger, number 27. We'll see if he can keep it up. And that's the pull. Nice way of muscling through that pull, getting a good roll on it. Lands at about the brick mark for France. Have it to Rouillard. And that disc just goes to ground, and Velosa picks up, sends a high flick, but Roger makes the grab. Roger throws a backhand huck, sailing, looking for Pigeon. It's just a little far, but honestly, I didn't even think Pigeon had a play on it when that throw went up, and he was able to make up a lot of ground.
Yeah, he actually stopped his cut at the front of the end zone and then restarted. If he had continued his original cut, I think he has a goal.
And that is Ramirez trying to do another hug, but number 9 on France, Broussard, brings that down. And again, that disc goes to ground. 6 picking up Aristide Sabal. Goes to Ramirez. Another turn. I think Colombia's just trying to go a little too quickly. Maybe needs to slow down their offense. Roger directing out, calling out some directions for his offense. Picks up. And he throws another flick huck looking for, I believe that is Nissan, and another great grab and great throw from France.
Yeah, nice confident one-hand grab with some wind. It almost looked like it popped out. He took a second look at his hand to make sure it was staying in. I'm sure his coach would love to see 2 hands on that catch, especially when there's no defender bearing down on you.
France really has figured out this close side of that particular end zone. In our last game between Mexico women's and People's Republic of China women's, it was just a little bit like every time they would send a huck, it would just sail out of bounds there. So anyone looking to kind of learn about how to use that downwind to their advantage should really look at Roger's game.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if France can make some inroads on their pulls. We've seen the Colombian pulls going to about the offensive brick mark, getting some good distance into this wind. France is struggling to get it past half. If they could correct that, I think that would help them a lot.
These gusts are very strong. As we've mentioned, they are coming from right to left on your screen, as well as from the far side to the near side where our booth is located. So it is very hard to pull up wind. We'll see how Cortiel does it. Just gets it past half.
An unfortunate roll puts him back on the other side of half, but that was a better attempt than previous few.
Jimmy with it. Looks to Geraldo. Jimmy goes for the hammer. And a great touch from Poriel to cause that disc to move away from the receiver. Especially as Valde Rodriguez is one of the main receivers for this Colombian offense. So we'll see Cortil pick up the disc at the cone. Looks like Colombia will go back to a zone defense. We've seen them put this on in previous points, but France hasn't had too much problem with it.
No, and I see the Colombian players in the cup looking to the sideline, getting some instruction before that disc was put in play.
Viel throws that disc very low. Brunet has hands on it. They call it up.
Yeah, I think that's a good call from here. It looked like it was just off the turf.
Viel really skating low on these throws. Brunet. Broussard shoots it up to Poriel. Oh, but Manus comes down. Or sorry, no, that's not Manus. That is Vornesson. It's unsure if there's a foul call, but amazing grab from Vornesson to keep possession for France.
Yeah, elevating well above the crowd of players.
Looks like he will keep it. Jimmy just getting back to his feet. Disc tapped in, Vornesson to Brunet. Cortil. Brunet. Broussard. Brunet. Vornesson. Cortil. Lelievre. Cortil. Brunet. Broussard. Brunet. Broussard. I'm sorry, that is actually Delamont. Cortil. Cortil goes with the hammer zone. Vornesson misreads, and it goes over his hands. And that is a foot block from Lelievre. He is pumped about that.
Yeah, I thought that was actually a foul. It looked like a foot to hand, but nothing from the handler. Clearly, I missaw that in a foot block.
Yeah, I think if he did really get his hand, we would have heard maybe a scream. Those are very painful, but nice work on Lelievre, able to get just the touch on it.
Yeah, France taking the long, deliberate walk to get this disc back. You can see the Colombians are air counting. They want to get this moving.
Cortil to Brunet. Brunet calls the time out.
So I like the way that France on offense was swinging the disc an awful lot down in the front of their own end zone. They were possessing the disc. If they were at all observant during the first half, they saw the Colombian substitutes on their knees. They were tired. They were exhausted. Possess the disc, swing it, swing it, swing it, run them into the ground essentially. Holes will open and you can go upfield. The Colombians are just struggling with some energy right now. They're just tired.
Yeah, I think they have to look to some of their big playmakers, Aristizabal, Ramirez, Jimmy, Rodriguez, or even someone, Garcia, number 8. He's been getting quite a few Ds, so one of those players might need to step it up, create some sort of hype or momentum for this Colombian squad. I think if they can do that, it'll be they can start generating those breaks and turns that we know that they can do.
You can hear that wind in the mic. It is picked up again. I know we're talking a lot about the wind, but it is whipping.
It is, I remember, I'm not sure because we don't have a radar with us, but this morning I was checking the weather and it said gusts up to 40 kilometers an hour. So that is very hard when you're throwing a piece of plastic that only weighs 175 grams.
I like the ingenuity on this France team as well. To get the water out to their fans, they've got a large French flag. They just make a little hammock out of it, throw about 15, 20 water bottles, and ship them out to the timeout circle. It
is very smart. I'm wondering if my team, Toronto Sixers, should do the same. We're always asking for water whenever we call a timeout, and everyone's like, oh, I left it on the sideline.
It's a great idea.
So Brunet will have possession of the disc. Rodriguez marking. Goes to Cortil. VL. Delamotte. Cortil. Around to Poriel. Brunet. Sends it through to Poriel. High grab. Brunet. Cortil. And tries for that slicing shot, to, I believe, to either Lelivre, possibly to Varnesson, but just hits the deck before anyone can actually go to.
That's where France needs a little patience. They're working the disc easily up the field. They have a tired defense against them, and they just jump the gun for that end zone shot.
Oh, a nice bid attempt from Varnesson, but I believe that is Aristide Sabal who's able to make that grab. That was a really hard shot for number 9, Kyorga Martin, to catch. You know, he's coming in hot, coming in hot, as well as the fact that it was right on the sideline, so you had to be aware of his feet. Again, Colombia stalling, you know, trying to get a delay of game possibly on France to you know, get that stall count in early. Cortil with the disc. Brunet. Cortil. Delamotte makes the high grab. Cortil. Brunet. Cortil. Brunet. Delamotte. VL. Cortil. Varnesson. VL. Cortil. Aggressive marks from Colombia. Delamotte. High grab from Brunet. I think Brunet is calling a force out. I do think that had there not been the Colombian defender, he would have landed in bounds.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. We have a game advisor, as you can see in the green jersey as well.
I also believe that multiple of these people coming in are just here to translate between the two teams. Obviously, France will be speaking French and Colombia will be speaking Spanish. And while similar, there's still enough difference that you would need a translator.
It was an excellent job on offense from France. They really had good patience. They had a four-handler set and worked around the cup. They got it across the field, not letting Colombia hem them in on this near sideline with that zone defense.
And that was a good effort from Quiroga to try to get that D. Unfortunately, Brunet was just able to elevate a little bit higher. Those whistles signal that it's sort of the time for both players to come to a conclusion, and if they don't, then they will just be contested and sent back. I believe they now, Colombia has realized it is a force out, so Brunet will retain possession. Good spirit on Colombia. Brunet. VL. Back to Brunet. Sends the huck. Might have been a little too much of an air bounce as everyone's underneath it. And somehow Poriel comes down with it. Lelivre. Cortil. Brunet. Lelivre. Lefty backhand to Brunet, and that is a break for France. It is 10-3. 10-4. I'm sorry, it's 10-4. My bad.
10-4, the old trucker special. What I'd like to see from Colombia, they're playing zone, and as a coach, I always say, if you're going to play zone, you do that and you dictate what the offense is allowed to do. I feel like they've been chasing a lot, especially here in the second half. They're putting their three across with a flat zone, but they're just chasing the disc. They're not really imposing their will upon the French handlers and dictating what they can and cannot do. I'd like to see them put that third handler, go back and taxi the dump, because France has always had that dump and a wide across field swing available. They're not really stopping France from doing anything.
I agree with you, Andrew. So now France will be going downwind, as we mentioned before. In ultimate, when there is an sort of a definite upside, upwind side and downwind side, teams will try to get that upwind break so that the downwind break is a lot, to convert on that downwind break, which is generally a lot easier, causing these 2-point swings. France has done it, I believe, twice already. So we'll see if they can do it once more, maybe 3 times. So. Roger getting ready with the pull. And it's a high OI backhand that lands in. Stopped by, I believe that is Torres. Briqueño. Gets to Velosa. Briqueño sends the huck. And is just off his receiver's hands. I believe that is Rico.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He made a good undercut, got his hand on it before the defender, just couldn't clasp down on the disc.
Roger picks up. High release to Poupin. Champlain with the disc. Fakes the high release flick. Gets it to Chauveau. Champlain. Oh, it's too high for Chauveau. Chestier makes the grab attempt, but just can't come down. And another huck from Velosa. Nice bid attempt from number 70 Suarez, but Champlain had position all the way through.
And Colombia, again, content to fast play that with essentially an upwind punt.
Roger, Chauveau. Roger, cutters are very deep for this French stack. And Roger goes for the huck. Wind catches that, and it is far out of bounds.
Yeah, you could see that about halfway through its flight path. Got a little updraft, and that was long gone.
Delgado running the disc up to the end zone. Velosa. Scuba, and it hits the ground. Oh.
Yeah, foul called.
Foul call.
That looked like it did go on a pretty quick downward path for a Scuba.
Especially considering they are going upwind. Yeah, it looks like it will be contested though. Pigeon on the mark. Coming in on 4-5. Finds Briqueño. Foul. Oh, no, travel call. I believe that is Briqueño's 4th or 5th travel call. I think it's France has sort of wised up to him. You know, he is on the smaller side, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is trying to really get that length. And what a nonchalant grab from Champlain. Goes to Roger. Again, goes for Champlain, but there's Poupin to pick up the garbage, as we like to say.
That was such a nonchalant D in the middle of the field on a fairly strong hammer coming right at him. And the quick toss to his teammate.
So it is 11-4 for France. I don't believe Colombia has gotten any breaks so far this game. So after this hold, you know, hoping for them to get this offensive hold, as well as hoping for them to get some momentum with getting some sort of D and, you know, working it up the field.
Yeah, you can see as they're walking up the field, the whole team has their shoulders slumped, their heads down, short of one player who's trying to rally the troops.
And I believe it is a timeout call from Colombia. I think this is a good decision, probably from the coaching staff. You know, they're down 7 points. They haven't had, you know, they've had some close chances on D, but they also just have been very errant in some of their decisions, especially.
Yeah, the quick play upwind, essentially upwind punts. I'm not sure what the thinking is on those particular items.
Yeah, especially since it's been shown that France can work it through whether it's person or zone. They're very comfortable in this wind, and it doesn't take much to give to them for them to capitalize.
I think if I was the coach in the Colombian huddle, I would be less focused on coming back to win this game, and I'd be more focused on let's do the small things correct. Let's build a foundation for our next game with the remainder of this game. You need to have some positives to take away in the last few minutes of this particular game.
As we mentioned, this is a pool play game in Pool B of the men's division. What will happen is the top 4 in each pool will go directly into quarters. Currently, we have France sitting at that 4th seed, Colombia at that 6th seed. So while I understand, Andrew, that maybe they just need to work on the small things, I do think that they need this win in order to possibly make a play into that bracket.
And for sure. And again, given the quality of France, if they're sitting in the 4 seed, that speaks to the depth of the pool already for the 1, 2, and 3. So at some point, I think Colombia needs to, obviously they want to win this game, but they also need to focus on the development of the players they have here, and really the development that they're going to have as they go home with these players and continue to develop in Colombia for future attempts at the U20 level.
Definitely. We even see some players, they're playing on some high-level club teams. Specifically, Briqueño is on Comunidad del Oso, which was a team that was just at Club Worlds in Cincinnati. I'm not sure how they did, but that is, playing in the men's division, or sorry, the mix, I think it's maybe a mixed team at something like Club Worlds is always great experience for young players like these. Jamy sends the deep huck. He has 2 receivers. But Brunet gets a hand to it. And that is just unfortunate for Colombia.
Yeah, that's an excellent D. He went up between the 2 players to make that play.
Brunet's been excellent all game, making these high grabs, getting these Ds. I know he doesn't look like one of the tallest French players, but he really elevates over everyone. And
really, look at his shorts and his jersey. He's clearly been diving in the mud, making some defensive plays through the course of this week.
Cortil brings it up. Cortil sends a backhand, but it is floating. And there is a foul call. I'm not sure who is calling the foul. I think it is
number 26.
Juvie. It's a little hard to say. It was, that disc was floating and everyone was scrambling for position. I'm not really sure exactly on where he's calling the foul, so I don't want to pose my opinion on it, but I do think that it was a scramble for everyone and everyone was just sort of boxing out for a position. We have both game advisors coming in, maybe just to provide their perspective or advice as to what the kind of ruling is on these sort of plays.
Yeah, you can see one of the sideline players ran in. He's translating now, talked to his player, now he's explaining what he was told.
One thing I think that's been better this tournament for my team of the game advisors is giving the opportunity for players to sort of work it out a little bit longer. It's very hard, I find, when the game advisors have only give you 30 seconds to talk it out when there is a language barrier. So I'm very glad to see these game advisors try to give an opportunity for these young people to sort of sort out the problems. I think most of these conversations have gone over very well.
We may just have to find a crew of game advisors that speak 13 languages each. And it looks like it's sorted out on field. I
think it might have been a retracted call. It looks like number 9, Quiroga? Sorry. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Retains possession. And that is a huck. And again, there was no Colombian player in that area, and it goes out of bounds. So Cortil will take it to the line. Colombia still in this zone look that features sort of like a 3-person wall.
Equipment call. Just doing up some cleats in the middle of the field.
Good spirit from both teams. Cortil takes it. Goes to Brunet. Cortil. Delamotte. To Poriel. Delamotte. Delamotte in his own end zone. Looking a little stuck. Finds Brunet. Delamotte.
Little contact on the jump into the handler.
Yeah. Very active marks from Colombia. Brunet. Delamotte.
Something we haven't seen from the marks this game. All 3 of them are almost doing jumping jacks in front of the handler.
Juvie. Oh, Cortil is able to steal that. Oh, there is a foul call. think the question is whether or not the Colombian player had possession of the disc, and which would have been a Callahan. Cannot see the player's number involved. It was very close. One thing that's interesting in WFDF is ties no longer go to the offense per se. They still go to the offense in the sense that they are always going to stay with the team that threw the disc, but it goes back to the thrower instead of staying with the receiver, which I think is a fairer way of deciding a tie. It's always hard when you say it was a tie, but you just keep it with the receiver and they gain so many yards.
Well, and it matches all the other rules where you have a contested call downfield. It's a do-over.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of thought the Colombian player had a play on that disc. I don't know if they completely stopped the rotation in their hands. So I don't know if this is going to be I'll say a strip call, but it certainly was closer than I think it appeared.
Yes, definitely looked very close. Honestly, I think it's just best if it goes back. It looks like it is a contested foul, so it will go back to the thrower. That is definitely, I think, the best call in that situation. It's so hard to tell when you stop rotation of the disc especially. So Brunet will have it. I think disc is coming in on 2 or 3. We have Cardona on the mark. Brunet looking around. Goes back to Cortiel. Brunet. Delamotte. Back to Brunet. Cortiel. Cortiel goes with the hammer upwind to Lelivre all alone.
That's a beautiful spot. He was sitting there for the last 40 seconds just waiting for that hammer.
Cortiel to Delamotte. Finds Brunet. Has time to pick that up. And Brunet sends the huck to Monus. Monus surveying. Brunet. And he goes for a high release flick. Oh! And that is a D by Jamy, but then Jouvet gets a hand on it. Oh my lord, so many plays just happened. I'm not sure who the Colombian thrower is there, but 99 Riard gets 2 hands on that disc, out of bounds. Great D.
What an incredible sequence of plays.
Yeah.
A couple of Ds, almost a secondary catch until the ground impact dropped it out of his hand.
Cortiel will bring it to the sideline. 3 yards to go. Looking for Brunet. Finds him around almost a D from 22. And that just falls out of Cortiel's hand. I think that was just such a hard throw for Cortiel to get to. Jamy now finds Quiroga. Jamy sends the huck deep, and Carrillo Arino cannot get there. And Cortiel just drops it.
You can see his handler look at him like, really? Obviously they've played together, they know each other, you can get away with that one.
We have Cardona now to Jamy. There's a travel call on Rico. As I mentioned before, if you are stationary, you can't take your 3 free steps, which I think is what happened here. Rico again. Sends it high to Quiroga. Cortiel on the mark. Gets it to Geraldo. Jamy. Around to Quiroga, lays out to keep possession. Oh, and that is a great attempt from number 17, Carrillo Arino, to lay out for possession, but he just loses it through the contact in the ground.
Yeah, I think he lost his wind there, just dropping onto the turf.
Yeah, it looked like he had good form, so I think you're right in the sense that it's probably just a winding. Coach is there helping him out, getting some breath into those lungs. It's very hard to land on turf, especially since it didn't look like he slid that much. Definitely just took the full impact onto his chest. It looks like there will be an injury sub for Carrillo Arino. So looks like they're going to have Aristizabal, one of their O-line handlers, coming on, as well as they have subbed in Nissan for, I believe, Delamotte for France. Not sure if there's some sort of violation call, but Courtier will just pick up the disc. To Brunet. Finds Poirier. Courtier. Poirier is able to keep that on. Courtier. Brunet. Wind is gusting now. Brunet has it. Juvi tries to go for, I think, the toe-in, then the greatest, but realizes that there is no hope.
Yeah, just throws his hand up in disgust that he couldn't read that one correctly.
Aristizabal gets it into the middle, and then we have Jimmy throw it, and unfortunately it just looks like it's too far for his receiver. That might be Delgado.
Yeah, wide open, just a little better quality on that throw as a goal.
I'm wondering if he's just so tired from having to run in this zone. Sorry, that is number that's number 22. I believe that's Nunez. You know, it looked like he could have left his feet for the layout grab, but it is hard after you've been running in this wall, especially. Courtier looking for a reset, finds Poirier. Gets it to Manus. Nice bid attempt from Quiroga, but Lelievre has it. Courtier. Poirier gets those low backhands. Juvi is open in the middle. Courtier, and he sends the huck. He has Manus. Also Lelievre. Oh, and what a nice grab from Manus. You know, grabbed it on his way down, actually.
Yeah, he's so strong in the air. He's shown that 2 or 3 times in this game.
And we are at 12-4 for France. Another upwind break for this French team. Hard to tell if, I think Colombia is just gathering amongst themselves, maybe just to think over that point a little bit, but they're sending out their line. Lots of hats on the field now. It's been very windy. Players are making bids and losing their headwear.
Yeah, you can see these high balls. A lot of the players will purposely strip the hat off so they have a better view while they're looking up and running to attack that disc.
I know, whenever I see a player do that, I always wonder, then why do you wear your hat?
I wear a hat when I play, and I will say it's 99% of the time when your head is at a normal level, it keeps the sun out of your eyes. But when you do look up, you want to have full view of the sky to see that disc coming in.
Very true.
The French just look so patient on offense. Their handlers haven't been rattled by anything today.
Yeah. One thing that I think is, you know, we talked about mental toughness, and even though France is, you know, getting more turns, I think that they would like, when it comes, like, causing more turns on offense than they would like, they're still able to stay patient when they get it back, and that, I think, is the big difference maker. We have Torres. Finds a reset in 75, Triana Vargas. I believe that is Rodriguez with the disc. Now Torres finds Garcia. Finds Jimenez Suarez. And I think it just slipped out of his hands.
Yeah, he tried to pull that back and take a different throw.
Roger again directing his offense, telling him where he wants them. And Roger sends a high flick to his receiver. I believe that is Manus. And Roger goes up line, and that's another downwind break for France. That is that 2-point we talked about. That is their 4th one of this game, I believe.
Yeah, Roger, heck of a field general. No rush to the disc, directing the troops. Really is clinical in the way he plays the game from that handler position.
Also getting those nice throws out to receivers who can make those high grabs. It is unclear if we have 62 and 71 with the last name Manus. They could be brothers. They both have the height, and they have been making those really nice high grabs, so wouldn't be surprised if that is a familial thing, but we are not sure.
Well, they both have the same one-hand jump style as well to catch, so they've either copied each other quite well, but I'd bet dollars to donuts they're in the same family. It's a strong trio to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Manus and Roger.
So teams who have to face France either in the pool play or in bracket, keep a watch out for those three. So France at 13, Colombia at 4. Colombia going downwind, hoping for a hold in a while, and wanting to get out. Like they want something nice and clean. They were able to do that right away at the beginning. It was a 2-throw, essentially hold, and they haven't had one since. So let's see if they can do it.
I think the France coach might be upset. You just gave away the advanced scouting to the opponents for the rest of this tournament.
Pretty sure anyone would find that out by watching our stream. So we have Velosa picking up. Gets it to Ramirez. Velosa. Ramirez. Gets it to Briqueño. Ramirez. Finds a Colombian on the sideline. Back to Jimenez. Over the top to Ramirez. Briqueño.
Taking liberties with his
I believe
couple of steps
another
there as well.
travel call on Briqueño.
I would tend to agree with that one. A little pop pass, but gained a couple of yards on the extra steps.
Ramirez. High release to Briqueño. Ramirez again. Jimenez. Cutters are really stagnant in this Colombian offense. Great grab from Briqueño. Velosa. 2 yards to go. Ramirez. Jimenez. Ramirez trying to do a give and go. Looking for an opening. Jimenez on the doorstep. And that is a goal for Colombia. Number 70, Suarez, able to get low and grab it. Nice bid from Cortil.
That's well worked down the field. I could see the receivers for Colombia. They were watching that disc all the way into their hands and all the way into their body that time, more so than earlier in the game. So clearly the coach has been telling them to focus on the fundamentals. And that's what we were talking about earlier. That's a positive result to build on as this game winds down.
Yeah, it's always important, I find, when you're down a lot, to look for like the little things that you have been doing right and what works against these better teams. Those are the things that get your team to also improve on. So France back out on O. See if they can get a clean, efficient hold. I think that is what their coach wants. He wants to put this game away, so to speak. It is 13-5.
We've got both Manus players here on the sideline, so maybe the coach is putting in a few different bodies.
I think he's kind of going with what we've been seeing.
No, he is. You're correct.
There's a little bit of a difference. I think some of the players he generally has on someone like Pijami, just sit in a little bit, use their depth. Even though France doesn't have a large squad compared to some of the teams here, it's still a good opportunity to develop those players, especially if they are still eligible for the next U20s. And that is a nice pull from Colombia, maybe the deepest pull we've seen all game, especially from the upwind side. Roger takes to the sideline, and Roger is hucking it to number 23, Lelivre. And Lelivre's there, despite the bid from the Colombian. Great attempt, but Lelivre just had the steps on it.
Yeah, the Colombian player looked like he landed knee first on the turf.
That's really hard, obviously. There's not much cushion between the turf and the concrete that is underneath the turf. And that might be number 9, Quiroga, who's been a workhorse so far for this Colombian team. So hopefully he's not injured too badly. I would hate to lose him at this stage of the tournament.
It's great sportsmanship. The goal scorer immediately ran back to check on the defender, knowing he was down, checked on him first before even signaling the goal, to continue the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Our observers are dabbing, which signals game point.
Oh, so that's what it means. I know a good amount of these signals, but I do not know the things that signal like double game point or game point. So good to know that dabbing will forever and always be a part of Ultimate.
Unless they change that hand signal, but yes.
Well, they just have to change it to the new, dance move that will come in the next 5 years or so.
Thank God it wasn't the Macarena back in the day when they decided to use the signals.
Well, we kind of have that with in and uncontest, so.
I will say our game observers, Jana and Alex, doing a good job today as well out here with these teams.
Choplin looking to pull. Maybe France can get a nice past half pull. And there they do. Great float. Hopefully the roll doesn't disrupt it too much. It doesn't.
Oh, sits nicely. Well done.
That is to 91 Luna. Looking around to 75 Triana Vargas. Finds Luna, I believe. Aristizabal. There's a whistle. I don't think the whistle affects the game, though. Aristizabal has it. Finds 19. Goes to Garcia.
Yeah, I believe that whistle was for our time cap.
Colombia on the sideline. Looking for a reset. Finds number 9 Quiroga, so he's fine. Aristizabal. Gets it to 19 Torres. Great grab from Garcia, low throw, but digs it out from the turf. Torres. Quiroga. Aristizabal. Garcia. And that's a nice backhand to his receiver in the back corner. I believe that is number 1, Jimenez Suarez.
That's very similar to a throw we saw earlier that I thought was pretty clever throw.
I think there France was just poaching off. They were trying to take away as many looks from Colombia as possible, but Colombia stayed patient and they were able to find that that gap for that throw to go through. So we are potentially looking at the last point. It is,
we're dabbing again.
We're more dabbing.
Another signal that it is a potential game point, so the observers might be dabbing for quite a while.
Yeah, well, I think France would love to capitalize on this downwind. They've been doing well so far, but that last point was just one throw from Roger to Livre. I would love to see Colombia come down in something that will disrupt Roger. Right now, he really has been the game changer for this France offense. You know, all his throws, like, not only are they just in the right space, but they have the right touch. You know, so easy for his receivers to catch.
And he can always get them off. I mean, it looks like he's preferring his forehand throws, those cut shots, but he throws a fake for that, steps across, and has an uncontested backhand if he wants it. The mark really is non-existent when he starts playing. There's a nice pull from Colombia as well.
Again, as we said, this wind is very strong, gusting really hard for anyone to get any upwind pull. Roger picks up, directing traffic once more, showing them the corner he wants them in. Chauveau has it. Goes high release to Pouplin. Goes to Monus. Pressure grab from Choplin. Finds Chauveau. Gets it to Roger. Poiriel all alone. I'm sorry, that's Nissan. I'm sorry, that's Nissan. Roger has it again. Roger has that flick. Layout D from, I believe, number 10, Torres. But Choplin comes up with the disc, and that is game point to Pouplin.
What a point to end on. Excellent defensive layout. Great secondary grab for the French receiver.
And, you know, we talked about Colombia having those, we need those game changers, those people who can rise above to create that D. And that's a great job from Alarcon Torres to show that he can get those layout Ds. But Choplin showing that he will make the grab no matter what.
Yeah, that's just a lot of clinical offense from France, really. Possessed the disc and swung when they had to going upwind. Roger especially hitting the downwind, big gainers for goals.
And that is the final score, 15-6 for France against the Colombian men's. We'll be bringing you a women's game next. I believe it is between the French women and GB, so a pretty standard European matchup. We have 3 more streams for you today to make up for the fact we only had 2 yesterday. So I believe It'll be this women's game. I know there is the men's showcase game at 11, and I'm honestly not sure who's at 5 o'clock. Andrew?
I'm not sure at 5, but the showcase game is at 7, not 11. I don't want to be here all night long under the lights. But we do have Canada and Italy in the men's division at 7 o'clock as our showcase game this evening.
These games should be exciting, so tune in. I'm Nico Birch.
I'm Andrew Portwine.
And we'll see you later.